Canada is now in election mode, and today on Second Street, we're going to take a look at some of the issues that will shape this campaign. We've got two experts who've been following the political scene very closely here in Canada. Jerry Agar is the host of the Jerry Agar Show on News Talk 1010 in Toronto, and Derek Fildebrandt is the founder and publisher of the Western Standard based in Calgary. Thank you both for taking a few minutes to chat with us today. As I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of different issues coming up in the election. It's going to be, I think, a pretty heated battle. Jerry, I'll start with you. I'm curious, when you think about the election overall, we just saw recently in Ontario was very much focused around sort of the current conflict, I'll put in quotes, between Canada and the US. Donald Trump's been flexing his muscles with tariffs, talking about taking over Canada and all kinds of stuff like that. How much do you think the federal election will be dominated by sort of the Trump factor?
Well, I think that is it. As a matter of fact, I got the feeling this morning talking to my listeners, both conservatives and liberals, they had different opinions on where to go, but their real concerns seem to be which one of the two leaders that are going to matter. Jagmeet Singh is out of the picture, and I don't think the Bloc are a big enough threat there. So really the choice to make is who can most effectively deal with Donald Trump. In the provincial election you were talking about, well, it was pretty obvious it's going to be the premier. He was very busy going back and forth anyway, already seemed to be getting some traction in that regard. But when it comes to this election, is it Mark Carney, with all of his experience advising government and the banking that he's done? A lot of, especially liberals, want to glom back onto the Liberal Party they were almost ready to abandon because of Trump, or Trudeau rather. And now they're saying, hey, we think he's better. For the Liberals, it's because, they never liked Pierre Poilievre. And so that's where we're going.
Right. Derek, what's your take? How big a factor will Donald Trump and that sort of U.S.-Canada situation play out in the federal election?
Nationally, it's the decisive issue. It's still an issue here in the West and in Alberta in particular, but it's much less so. Remember, our votes don't really matter in this. The vast majority of seats in Alberta are going to go Conservative, no matter what the issue is, no matter what the candidates are. Same thing in Saskatchewan. So our vote, our perspectives here seem to matter markedly less. There's a few seats in play, particularly in Edmonton. There's a couple of play there, but it takes on a different tone here in the West and Alberta and Saskatchewan, where, Trump and the trade war is a major issue. But we always have an eye onto the perennial, never-ending threat to our economy, which is Ottawa. So we've got two opponents here. We have a long-standing enemy of the West based in Ottawa, regardless of who the federal government is. Just we have one party is explicitly hostile to us. The other party likes us and says thank you for our contribution, but doesn't change a lot overall. So here we have to keep, we fight a two-front trade war. One front never ends, and that's the fight against Ottawa, which is a grave threat to our economy. And the other one is the newer one, a more transitory threat, but it's dominating the news here as well.
Jerry, when we think about the Trump factor, is there anything that you can foresee in your crystal ball that he might do during the election to potentially derail it, affect it, or do you think he'll maybe kind of be a little bit more quiet? What's your sense as to how active the U.S. administration, including President Trump, will be?
Okay, so you want me to try to predict what Donald Trump will do 30 seconds from now or tomorrow. I'm not always convinced he knows.
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. The answer to that question. He's already obviously interfered in that we're agreeing here that he is kind of the issue of the day. It's no longer Pierre Poilievre's axe the tax election. It has to do with the threat we have now from Donald Trump in the United States. And he could upset all kinds of things. I mean, what happens if he, in fact, goes ahead with the tariffs not too long from now? And those things are right in the middle of the election. If he continues to make comments, he has said, and I don't know if he's trying to play some sort of psychological game, that he'd rather deal with Carney. Do Liberals think that's a good idea, or is it like sort of a psychological game in order to get people to vote Conservative? I don't know what he's doing, and he could upset the apple cart all over again.
going to be a tough one to watch. We'll be back with more in just a moment.